give another minute or so here, see if we can get some additional. Well, the numbers are jumping, 39 and climbing. Still climbing. Looks like a good time to go ahead and get started, everyone. Welcome to the January 4th, 2021 meeting of the Rotary Club of Ames. We're all going to have to get used to writing 2021 now. If you haven't already started, start practicing. And if you don't mind, if you can, go ahead and stand and we will virtually recite our Pledge of Allegiance. But the flag is up there, so I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And at this time of our meeting, we usually set aside a moment to offer some thoughts to people, members, family members that might need an extra thought or prayer at this time. I am not aware of any such individuals, which is a good thing. Hopefully everyone is moving along here into the new year. But if there are someone or someone's aware of a member that we do need to hold in our thoughts, feel free to unmute and let us know. And so, not hearing anyone, let's just go ahead and take a moment for reflecting and hoping, and with all the good vibes we can send to the year 2021 to get us off to a great start and say goodbye to 2020. Okay, awesome. And we're going to start our slideshow here. I'm not sure if our new members are present with us today, but welcome. Welcome to Park Woodle and Sophie Johnson, the newest members to the Rotary Club of Ames. Hopefully you've all seen the email. And when we do convene in person sometime this year, we're going to be able to introduce them properly to the club. Hopefully you've had a chance to at least look through the email, but we'll get a chance to recognize them appropriately when we meet. Welcome, Park and Sophie, everyone. And look at this. cute little baby born on January 1st on New Year's Day. So congratulations to Paige and Eric Healy. They welcomed a new baby boy, Emmett Leo Healy, and that was on New Year's Day. So congratulations, Paige. That's awesome news. And with that, we're going to ask our music committee representative today, John Christie, to unmute himself and sing our welcome song.
Thanks, Chad. To our guests and visitors, welcome to you from Ames Rotary, Noveda, London, or Gay Paris, from far off lands or the USA. We're glad that you are here today. Come back again whenever you're near. Join us and then we'll make it clear. Around the world you will always be welcome at Rotary.
Thank you, John. Great job. It is the first meeting of the month, and as such, we recognize and celebrate the birthdays of our members for January. Anytime you have a 9 in front of your birthday, that's a big deal. So happy birthday to all of you, but also Cliff Smith. They're 95 years young. So happy birthday to all of our club members. And it looks like from an anniversary perspective in our club that maybe January wasn't the most popular, but we do have to celebrate one of our club members' anniversaries. So happy anniversary, Linda and Doug. And I think this is a good time to recognize some of our members who've been with us a long time. Dell Bloom, 40 years. Hopefully you're with us, Dell, today. Happy anniversary to you. Also some more long-time members, Dave Fox and Bob Goodwin. And also celebrating those that are still relatively new with us, Jennifer Ellis and Pete Hansen. So happy anniversary club-wise to all of you. And we don't have a slide for this, but Happy New Year, and how about them Cyclones? So I am a lifelong Cyclone fan and an alum, as many of you are. Congratulations to the Iowa State Cyclone football team, Coach Matt Campbell, and all the players on their win in the Fiesta Bowl. It's been a long time coming, and I think the thing that we as people from Ames and Iowa State University could be most proud of is that they're winning with character first. So I don't know if you recall a few weeks back, Brees Hall, our star running back, offered a quote that I think kind of sums it up. And he said, 5-star culture versus 5-star players. So if you're not aware, right, the NCAA oftentimes has incoming players that get stars based on their recruiting talent. And what Matt Campbell is doing here is recruiting and developing young men of character. And it shows, and that's what everyone's talking about right now nationally. So Jeff Johnson, I hope you're ready to grab all this street cred that we're getting these days to promote that. A lot of good stuff coming our way. And then if I got this quote right, this was Matt Campbell, his quote from the trophy stage after the Fiesta Bowl, and he said, "Greatness isn't just for the chosen few, but greatness is for those who choose to be different and demand to become the best version of themselves they can become." So that's pretty powerful. Again, we quote a lot of people, famous people, all the time. And now we have quotes coming from, the head football coach of Iowa State University, and hopefully the head football coach for many years to come. But we should all be proud. Congratulations to the Cyclones. Congratulations to all of you that are lifelong fans, those that are affiliates of the university, because it certainly is something to be celebrated. So great news. Anything that we need to add to that, Jeff? Are you aware of anything? Not to put you on the spot, but
No, this is just a great opportunity though for Iowa State University as well. I mean, it's all about showcasing the university in every stage and opportunity, and one this large, we get to tell the university story as well. So kudos to Iowa State University, President Winterstein, Jamie Pollard, and really the leadership of this institution throughout the colleges for the work that everyone is doing. But I do want to do something today, if you don't mind. This is unplanned, but it's something I've been chewing on for a while. I'd like for us all to also honor and recognize Karen Sevdy. If you've not had a chance to work with her, she is absolutely phenomenal. She carries the weight and the work for many of us, really makes it look like we know what we're doing. But in serving on this Centennial Committee, there's just nothing that she doesn't know. If she doesn't know it, she knows where to go find it. And as we start into 2021, Karen, thank you for all that you do to support this club and support all of us. We couldn't do anything we do without you.
Thank you, Jeff.
Absolutely. Well said, Jeff. Thank you for adding that. Karen, you are an unbelievable asset, and a lot of people just don't know what you have to offer with your gifts and your talents. So thank you. Exciting way to kick off the year. We have one of our own club members representing our program today, and I'm going to ask Kelsey Carper to unmute and introduce today's program if she's still on the call.
I am, and I was able to
Awesome.
unmute, so here I am. Hope everyone had
Perfect.
a fantastic couple weeks, and if Santa's in your lives, he was good to you. But I have the pleasure of introducing our speaker. Kevin Bourke is the president and CEO of the Ames Convention and Visitors Bureau, and it's been about a year and a half. Prior to that, he was the COO for Iowa Sports Foundation. He graduated from Iowa State in '83, and he coached track and cross country at Iowa State for 17 years prior to being the CEO of the Iowa Sports Foundation. He coached at Iowa State from 1984 until 2000. So welcome, Kevin Bourke.
Thank you, Kelsey. I appreciate it, and I appreciate the opportunity to speak to the club today. I also want to reiterate Jeff's comments of Karen. Karen, thank you for everything you've done for the club over the years. Karen actually served on the Convention and Visitors Bureau board and served on the Iowa Sports Foundation board representing the city as well. So I've worked with Karen in a number of different capacities. But thank you for letting me be here today and giving you a little bit of update of the Convention and Visitors Bureau and kind of how I got here. I'm going to share my screen if I can. Just to give you some updates on where we've been and where we're going. As Kelsey said, I don't want to say an Ames native, but I've lived in Ames longer than anywhere. I've been in Ames for almost 40 years, having graduated from Iowa State and coaching some great athletes and being a part of Bill Bergen and Steve Lynn, Ron McEachran, the coaching staff, track and cross country staff at Iowa State for 17 years. We were fortunate enough to win a couple NCAA championships and have a number of All-Americans and NCAA champs, but I had also had an opportunity to recruit kids from all over the state, all over the country, and all over the world to Iowa State. I think as some of you that have been around for a while know, we've had athletes from Africa, from Europe, from Asia, literally all over the world, and pretty fortunate to call those athletes friends and still stay in contact with a lot of those athletes. As many of you know, Jim Hallahan, former assistant coach for Johnny Orr, just passed away recently. Jim was a great friend of mine, when we were both coaching at Iowa State. He was coaching basketball and I was coaching track. But Jim hired me to come and work for him at the Iowa Sports Foundation, also known as the Iowa Games, and worked with Jim for about 15 years prior to Jim retiring. And when I took that job with the Iowa Sports Foundation, really I had an opportunity at that time to either work for the Convention and Visitors Bureau here in Ames or to go work for the Iowa Games. And I chose to work with the Iowa Games just because sports was my background. But at that time I had been approached by the Ames Convention and Visitors Bureau to start a sales force to bring in sporting events to Ames and in the Convention and Visitors Bureau. So really, when it came time to leave the Iowa Sports Foundation and go to the Convention Visitors Bureau, it wasn't a hard decision. Really, it was something that I've thought about for a long time. And really, it gave me some purpose in that when I first started coaching, I really feel like I made a difference at Iowa State University. And when I went to the Iowa Sports Foundation and worked for the Iowa Games, we did Live Healthy Iowa, adaptive sports, corporate games, senior games. We did all kinds of things throughout the state of Iowa. And I feel like I'd made a difference in the state of Iowa. And working for the Convention Visitors Bureau, this gives me an opportunity really to do something here in the community that I call home. And so I really view this as an opportunity to make a difference right here in Ames. So, you know, a lot of people say, so what does the Convention Visitors Bureau do, or who are you? And probably the best way to start is, who aren't we? A lot of people think we're the city of Ames. We do get some funding from hotel motel tax, from the hotel motel tax that's collected by the city. We receive a portion of that in an agreement with the city of Ames, and that's a lot of how we are funded to be able to bring in events and opportunities into Ames. A lot of people think we're the chamber as well. We used to be housed together, and we are great partners. We work collaboratively together on bringing events here, like we did the AIB conference a year and a half ago. We brought to Ames, great conference, multi-day event that we had here. But the chamber really focuses on bringing in businesses, workforce development, and those kind of things. So we do work together on those kind of things, but really we are different. And really what we do with the Ames Convention Visitors Bureau is we promote Ames and Iowa State University as a destination. What a great opportunity for me to sit here today, having had 2020 behind us, and now with football having the success that they've just had this last year. We have nothing but great things ahead of us as we look to be able to promote Ames and Iowa State as a destination. And it's really, we focus on visitors in how we can get them to come to Ames and not only spend a night, but spend a day, whether it's visiting Ryman Gardens and going to any of our numerous restaurants to have a great meal, or any of our retail downtown or throughout Ames. We really have 5 areas that we look for in our core focus for people that work for us. And that number one thing is a passion for Ames and Iowa State University. We believe that we have to have excellent service in any group that we bring to Ames, that we're with them from start to finish. Innovation in all areas. It's a way for us to make sure that we're staying on top of our game and providing the best technology or whatever that innovation might be. And that we're also, we take initiative in trying to bring in events and whatever we can do to make that event the best possible event we can. And then obviously it does take a team. Whether that's just our staff, our volunteers, our sites guides, or volunteers throughout the community. We do have a partnership that is like no other in the United States. We are so fortunate here in Ames to have a partnership with Iowa State University, a multi-year agreement that we have Iowa State University employees that are here right in our office that are doing very similar things that we currently do with conference planning and management, a division of Iowa State Extension and Outreach. We also have registration services, so a lot of events that have registrations for them, we have a means to be able to provide registration for them right here in our office and partner with Iowa State. So when we go out and we sell Iowa State and we sell the community to an organization to try to bring in that event, we can represent both Ames and Iowa State University. So we're extremely fortunate to be able to do that. We are the only one in the country that has that opportunity. I've talked with other counterparts in other college towns, and they talk about how lucky we are to be able to go out and represent the university and have the university in our office. So if I have a question about a venue or a facility that we need to use or dates, so we don't have conflicting events going on in town, we can do that so easily with having this partnership. So we are extremely fortunate. The other thing I wanted to mention is just the economic impact that we bring to the community. I'm not going to talk about 2020, at least not yet, but when we look at the economic impact just from overnight visitors to Ames, we brought in 2019 $114 million into the community. And it's not just in lodging, although that does make up 32% of that, with 20% being transportation and another 19% in food and beverage, obviously entertainment and retail as well. And that's just from overnight visitors. That doesn't even count day visitors, visitors that come to look at campus if they're prospective students and their families that maybe just come for a day. So the economic impact of visitors to the community is extremely large. And we do this really as a way to benefit the entire community. Obviously, our retailers, our restaurants, the hotels, they all benefit, but there obviously is a lot of repercussions from those revenues that are generated within the community, the tax revenue, as well as the employment that we bring to the community. In 2019 in Story County, travel-related workforce impact is over $33 million in payroll, and just shy of 1,800 jobs for Story County. You know, obviously a lot of those jobs may be part-times, and that is what a lot of students rely on. But also we know that economic impact that we're making has a significant impact in the jobs that are here in town. We do have the lowest unemployment still today in the country here in Ames, Iowa. And so jobs are extremely important, and we continue to create jobs, but also help in that workforce development and trying to fill those jobs. So obviously we know that 2020 was a lot different than 2019, but we have the opportunity as we look to 21 to make a difference. But before we do that, I do need to talk briefly about 2020 and the impact that it has had in Ames. As I said, we are funded by hotel motel tax, and a lot of our income comes from hotel motel tax. And the hotels just to date have lost over $17.3 million since March of 2020. We have 21 hotels in town, so it doesn't take much to figure out. It is a major impact on those hotels. My first comment there is that our mega year was not so mega. Every other year, we have what we call mega years. Those are years where we have events that consume the city for multiple days. And our even years, like 2020, is considered a mega year, where we had Farm Progress Show was scheduled, Odyssey of the Mind World Finals was scheduled. Those type of events are multiple day events that bring in millions and millions of dollars to the community. And unfortunately, those were canceled this year, along with a lot of our traditional events that were canceled throughout the year. You know, and that impacts not only the hotels, but all those other retails, restaurants, things that you don't even think about, you know, just like the rental stores in town where people are trying to rent tents, tables, chairs for events. And a lot of those were also impacted. There were so many events that we lost this year. I couldn't even tell you how many it is, but I know it's in the hundreds of events that we lost just this year. So, you know, as we look to the future, we know that the travel industry historically is the slowest to recover from any kind of a national event, whether it was 9/11 that had a national impact. The travel industry was the slowest to recover from the recovery in 2008, 2009, when the economic downfall at that time, again, travel industry was the slowest. And U.S. travel is expecting our levels not to return for another 10 years in the hospitality industry. So it is a challenge that we have, but we know that the future looks extremely bright. As we look to the future, we already have here in Ames and at Iowa State University, we've got 136 events that we have booked for 2021 and into the future. We have multiple agreements with events so that we can host them either annually for multiple years or every other year or some type of rotation. And this is just a brief list of the type of events. And I just wanted to share just some of the diversity of events that we have, whether it's continuing education like the State Fire School is, or basketball events, state music events, all kinds of arts events that we host throughout the year. There's one event that's not on here that we host every other year in recent years, and that's NC Pets, which some may be familiar with. It's the North Central President-elect Training Seminar, and that's for Rotary Club President-elects and President nominees. That's a multi-day event that has 325 visitors that come to that and brings in significant revenue into the community. We host that every other year. We were supposed to host that in 21. Unfortunately, that's one of those that's going to be going virtual. But we are continuing to work with NC Pets as well as other groups to continue to try to bring in events. We also have over 150 events that we're currently pursuing. Right now, it is difficult for a lot of these organizations to make commitments, just not knowing what things are happening yet in 2021 and if their event is going to happen. So it's hard to get people to commit, but we're continuing to work on those relationships in any way that we can, so that way when they're really ready to make a decision, we're there and we're a part of that decision. I also wanted to talk just briefly about what our target markets are. There are so many directions that we can go, but Iowa State obviously is a big part of our target market, as is Ames. The events, the companies that are in Ames and the departments on campus are significant to what our focus is. And our sales force really is broken into three areas, whether it's Iowa State University and conference planning and management, the association and business corporate market, and then obviously sports and leisure. We've been very fortunate to bring in a lot of sporting events, whether they're adaptive sports with deep baseball for the visually impaired, or just national events like the National Track and Field Masters Championship that we hosted in 19. It was a 5-day event that we hosted that brought in visitors from over 40 states for that event. So we're continuing to work on obviously the youth events, youth conferences, competitions is big for us, and we're continuing to work on all of those areas. Some of the other opportunities that I did want to mention briefly is that aside from the youth events and competitions and sporting events, is we have recently developed in a partnership with admissions. We want to continue to work with the admissions office. They've had an extremely difficult year. They normally have over 25 to 30,000 visitors that come to Ames and Iowa State with their families looking at the university for their future education. And that's an opportunity this last year, which they just weren't able to allow those, I shouldn't say allow them, but they just weren't encouraging those visitors to come to Ames. That was significant. And we're working with admissions to see what we can do to help be a part of that initial visit when they come to campus, as well as part of orientation, which we've been a part of. But also, anytime we have youth events on campus, what we can do to help in their recruitment efforts so that we can bring them to Ames and hopefully that they decide to come to Iowa State University. Because we know that keeping enrollment at the levels that they would like to have, I know our levels have decreased, but there is a certain threshold that we want to maintain on campus. And I think that if we can help in that recruitment, as a former coach, I know that that recruitment is not an easy process. And it's not just the student that needs to be recruited. It's the families, the parents. They want to make sure that it's a safe community, a safe environment. They want to know that there's other things to do in the community. And that's where we're working with the admissions office so we can be involved in helping in that recruitment effort. So I think that that's going to be a long relationship that we have with the admissions office. Also, one of the things that we're looking at, we know that this last year, conferences and events are going to change in the future. This virtual platform that we're on today is something that's not going to go away. Unfortunately, we know that there's going to be smaller groups that maybe don't want to spend the money and travel, that will continue to meet this way under this platform. So we're trying to look at how are there other ways that we can bring visitors to Ames. And one of those is to look at the I-35 and Highway 30 interchange. There's over 60,000 vehicles that go through that interchange on a daily basis. That's over 22 million a year. And if we can attract just 0.25%, just a fraction of a percent, and get them to stop in Ames and spend $20, it will make over a $10 million impact into this community on an annual basis. So we're looking, can we create an attraction that's out at that interchange? Can we help in maybe making a welcome center that is at the interchange, that we can create more signage out on the interstate to just draw more people into the community? So we're looking at a lot of opportunities that we can create to bring in visitors to Ames. And the last thing I wanted to mention before I open it up for question is, how can this organization or members of the organization, how can you help? And we know that there's an association for everything. Believe it or not, there's actually an association of associations. I'm actually a birder. I belong to the Iowa Ornithological Union, a birding organization in the state. We have an annual event. We know that we have a conference that happens every year. I want to try to bring that to Ames. Maybe not every year, but what association do you belong to? What board do you belong to? I also belong to a board of directors for One Heart Equestrian Therapy here in town. And I'm working with that organization. How can we bring Special Olympics equestrian event or other events to Ames? So if you can think about it, what do you belong to? And what association do you belong to that we can maybe bring that event, that annual meeting, annual conference, competition, whatever it might be, to Ames? And we can help you do that. It may sound intimidating, but that's where our organization can come into play and help you to acquire the venue, determine the best date, the best venue, whatever the meeting space that might be needed, whatever it is, we're here to help. And we're here to help from start to finish. If that's just not just acquiring the meeting, but if we can help you along the way, even when the event is here, you need volunteers, whatever that might look like, we can certainly help. So anyway, anything we can do to help bring those events in, we're glad to help in any way. At this time,
Kevin,
I'd like to
thank
open it up
you.
for questions. If there's anything or comments that anyone would like to make, I'd be glad to take any questions.
Thank you, Kevin. Very interesting. If anyone has some questions, it's good to put them in the chat if you can. Otherwise, please raise your hand or unmute. We have a question, Kevin, from Jeff Johnson, wondering about, from your research and feedback from clients, what are the top 3 reasons that new and repeat clients give for choosing Ames for their events? Do you have some insight on that?
Yeah, that's a great question. You know, when I was with the Iowa Sports Foundation, we used to host events in Dubuque, Cedar Rapids, Iowa City, Des Moines, and obviously with the summer games here in Ames. And the biggest thing that I saw before coming to work for the coming to work with the Convention Visitors Bureau is the fact that Ames is with you all the way. They are here to help service the event all the way through the event. It's not just getting it to come to the community like some do. They're just glad that you bring your event and then it's your event and you deal with it. Ames has always been there to help in any way that we needed help, whether it was, again, getting volunteers, getting some kind of equipment, whatever it might be, throughout the event, leading up to the event, and knowing that the community is involved in the event is the biggest thing that we find as to why we get repeat customers and clients that want to return to Ames is because we make them feel welcome and that they are part of the community while they're here, and the community appreciates that they're here in town.
Thank you, Kevin. Hey, you know, the Rotary Club of Ames obviously is a big lead sponsor for helping bring the Miracle Park and Playground to Ames. So we're hopeful that that venue has added another extension to your potential client base. Hopefully you have some things maybe on the radar to recruit events, you know, with the new Miracle Park and Playground.
Yeah, actually we have. We've already been in contact with the National Miracle League field organization. They do have some national events that we've already had some conversations with. It may be a couple years down the road, but that's fairly typical for us, where a lot of events that we are pursuing, they may not happen in 21 or 22. They're going to happen in 23, 24, 25. We even have events that we're currently pursuing that are in 2030 right now that we're looking at. So we're always looking at new venues and new opportunities. So the Miracle League field is a big one for us. I did see
Allison
one
Walter.
question that
was, go ahead. Yeah.
One question about State Games of America. That is an event that is an extension of the Iowa Games. The Iowa Games belongs to an organization called National Congress of State Games. And it's an event that they host a national event that all medalists from all the other state games all over the country will come to. And Ames was scheduled to host that in 21. Well, unfortunately, 2020 was a big qualifying year for that 21 national event. So that event has been pushed off to 2022. So we will still be hosting State Games of America, but it will be in 2022, which will be another mega year for us because we will have Farm Progress Show again that year, as well as Out of the Sea of the Mind World Finals.
And then you see the question from Warren there about talking about the competitive environment in central Iowa with the number of new venues that have been developed in the Des Moines area.
That is something that we have to overcome. You know, flat space is something that we've talked about for many, many years here in Ames. And, you know, there are a lot of venues that are being built all over the state. Iowa City has built a brand new indoor, smaller arena. They're going to have a minor league hockey team, and they're going to host all the University of Iowa volleyball games at. There are new venues coming up in the Des Moines Metro, outdoor venues, field space, and that's what we have to overcome. And we know we can do that. Not that we don't want to still look at newer venues and creating newer venues here in Ames, but that's just a challenge that we have to overcome, and we're working on that. That flat space issue is one of those things that we're still excited about, both with the project that Hunsaker's is working on and the Lincoln Way project and what that might look like, as well as what Jamie Pollard has proposed a year ago as far as the multi-use space with all of the Iowa State Center and what that might look like. So there's still some opportunities for some flat space down the road. And, you know, we'll see what those bring. But right now, we've got to sell with what we have.
How many, you mentioned 21 hotels, but how many beds are we ahead maybe from 5 or 10 years ago? It looks like there's been quite an addition in some building recently.
Yeah, there definitely has. That's a good question. Just with the last 2 hotels that opened up within the last year and a half, the Courtyard being one of those, our overall number of beds is just over 1,700 rooms. And from where we were probably 10 years ago, it's probably up, I would say probably more than 500 rooms in that amount of time. And there are still 2 hotels that were scheduled to open up in 2020, obviously, that haven't, Spring Hill and the State Bridge. Not sure when those are going to open up. And it's great that they are opening, but, you know, we need to continue to work to try to fill those rooms. And that flat space issue is one of those concerns that we have that makes it challenging to fill those rooms.
And then Jeff Johnson asks about, from your perspective, what's the most underused or under-marketed asset we have here in Ames? And then the second part of that would be, what's our community's greatest hurdle that we need to address? Do you have a good feel for that?
Yeah, underutilized. You know, I don't know. I think that we've got some pretty good attractions. You know, our bike trails and our park system, Ada Hayden, obviously great venue. But, you know, we've got some great attractions with Ryman Gardens, and Ryman has done a great job in growing that, even just most recently with the light show that they added. Outstanding for what they did this time of year. So we've got some great attractions. But I think probably our biggest hurdle is still flat space, and having that flat space with a hotel, a full service hotel, meaning one that has restaurant capacity, food service capacity attached to that flat space. That's our biggest challenge. You know, we've got outstanding venues with Hilton Coliseum is a big flat space, but we're limited as to when we can utilize that facility because of basketball, volleyball schedule in that venue. And we don't always know those schedules leading up to those seasons. So as I mentioned earlier, we are trying to get business multiple years in advance from now. And when we don't know those schedules, it's hard for us to fill those timeframes. So we try to do it when we know they're not going to be utilized in the summertime for that particular venue. So that's probably our biggest challenge, is having a venue that is not an athletic venue that we can be able to sell year round, that is attached with a full service hotel.
Yeah, thanks. And then I think Cliff Smith asking maybe can can you just clarify a bit more about what you mean by flat space?
Sure. Yeah, I apologize. A flat space is really basically a convention center, a wide open space that can be divided into multiple rooms or configured in multiple ways, as well as just being opened up to be able to accommodate 1,000, 1,500, 2,000 people for a meal. Right now, we are tapped out at about 600 people that we can accommodate in one continuous space in Ames, and that would really be Hilton Coliseum is what we're able to utilize. And so if we had a flat space that's really a convention center is really what we're looking for. One that can be divided into multiple rooms or opened up into one big exhibit hall type space.
Thank you for clarifying. I'm not seeing any other additional questions at this point in time. Anything else for Kevin? I know it's been.
This
Yeah.
is Dr. Woods. Does not, with our being the distance we are from Des Moines, how difficult is that in attracting things to Iowa State, or not to Iowa State, to Ames? Since we're so, it's not a far distance, but it seems like a distance.
You know, it really depends upon the group that we're trying to attract. You know, when you say that you're only 40, 45 minutes from the airport, well, in a big city, that's not a big deal. You know, if you're going into Chicago or Dallas, Fort Worth, you know, 40, 45 minutes, not a big deal. So when you put it in those terms, that doesn't sound like that's that far. But when you say that, well, you're 30 miles away, well, some groups think that's a long ways. So it kind of really depends upon the group. It really is a hurdle that we've been able to manage fairly well in providing shuttles. It's one of the things that we may offer as an incentive to a group is that we're going to take care of the shuttles to be able to get people from the airport to Ames and vice versa. So it's something that's not that big of a hurdle for us to overcome. Good question.
Kevin, many years ago, I heard someone use a phrase that said, Ames is like a great place to go fishing, but the bank of the pond is so far away. And I think about this when I think about highway or Interstate 35. If you get off on Highway 30 or you get off on 13th, you have to drive so far before you find what one would call civilization. And so people then just turn around because, you know, at one end, you're driving through what looks like maybe is a truck stop type of entry. The other, you drive down a hillside and a baseball park, and then you come to a traffic light, and then there's the hospital, and then there's the railroad. And then you think, can I get back to 35? So part of this for me is trying to figure out, and I like your comment about thinking about attractions, but how do we also deal with that reality that we seem to be so far from the interstate before you hit anything that looks remotely like it's a city?
Yeah, I think that I hadn't heard that comment before, Jeff, but that's one of the things that we are looking at, and that's why I mentioned a potential welcome center, something that we can put out at that Dayton interchange, so that way we can attract people more. I've had conversations with the DOT that if we do have a welcome center, visitor center, and what that might look like, we don't know. We're still doing a lot of research on that, but we can have more signage out on the interstate if we have something like that, that we can direct people off of 35, off of Highway 30, to be able to draw them in. And I think if we can get people to stop at that Dayton interchange, then we have an opportunity to be able to direct them to Duff or to campus. I mean, heck, it's a straight shot down South 16th, straight to the football stadium, you know. So if you get them to that point, I think that creates an opportunity. But what that still looks like, we're still investigating that. But I think that has been a challenge, and I think as we look to try to continue to improve that whole area and that look of what that might be, that certainly is an opportunity for us, because it's an opportunity I think we've missed.
Yeah, good discussion, and thank you, Kevin. I know you're busy, and I know just like so many industries, you've been so impacted by COVID in this 2020 year. But your presentation was very insightful, very thought-provoking for all of us who have such a vested interest in our community and the success of our community and growth. And so thank you for coming on and sharing that. Thank you for being a member of our club, and we're looking forward to seeing if we can all help you out in any way possible. So everyone, again, Happy New Year. What a great start to the year to have the Cyclones give us that victory at the Fiesta Bowl. And I wish more of us would have been able to been there and enjoy that. I know I see Rod Bothold on there. I'm sure the weather was a little bit better than it was here. But hey, not too bad here, so we can't complain. So with that, next week, I know we have Don Goring talking about a centennial celebration moment. So got that to look forward to. And with that, we'll close with our four-way test. Of the things we think, say, or do, is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendship? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? So thank you, everyone, and we'll see you next week.